Hey there, everybody. Happy Black Friday. We are here with a new Blacklist Season 9 theory discussion, and we've looked at a lot of comments over the past couple of months, and I think both of us were kind of intrigued by Panabaker, but I don't think we expected anywhere near the number of comments related to Panabaker that we've gotten.
Yeah, we have seen numerous times in the comments the idea that did Panabaker hire Vandyke to kill Liz? And is there something more behind Panabaker in general? And we tried to find the original comment with this, but it has been mentioned so many times and for so many months now that we just couldn't find the original comment. Thank you to the person who did leave that original comment, and thank you to everybody who has said this comment, because it is an interesting theory. And also, if there's something that you want to see us discuss here at the channel about the Blacklist, we do take suggestions. We read all the comments. If we see something that we're like, yeah, we really want to talk about that, we will come on here, we will shout you out, and we will talk about it. So leave it in the comments for us.
So Panabaker and Vandyke, I think it's a very cool theory. I understand the origination of it a lot, and I think a lot of it just starts out with the idea that, she wanted Liz dead. And if she wanted Liz dead, obviously she's not going to go and do this herself.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Panabaker put out a burn notice on Liz, which doesn't necessarily mean death. It mostly means sort of scrubbed from the FBI. She was never there kind of thing. Not necessarily dead, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that she could go about this. But I think the idea of it being Vandyke would probably just stem mostly from the idea that if, let's say Panabaker sends FBI stooge number 3 to go and do this, presumably if something happened to FBI stooge number 3 while they're out completing this mission, it could come tracing back to her. Nobody is going to directly link Vandyke to her. These are very, very separate entities. Maybe she thought she could get off on this scot-free without any problems.
Before we get too deep into this conversation, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We have new Blacklist every Tuesday morning, every Friday morning. We have you covered all the way till the premiere in October, which is still a little ways off, but less than 2 months. Yeah.
And if you guys do want to keep up to date on us through all this, just head over to our Instagram at @VatAndJessTV. It's a very different journey over there than the Blacklist, and it sometimes involves donuts and dog and cat pictures.
Yeah, we've mentioned this a little bit, and it's become sort of like a fun journey for Matt over there, that he has discovered this donut shop down the street that has all these crazy kind of donuts. He seems to go there every weekend now. He takes pictures. They go up on Instagram, so Matt and Jess TV to follow Matt's donut adventures.
This is the real journey. It's the donuts we find along the way.
Okay, so the whole Panabaker, hiring Vandyke theory.
Yeah.
It makes some sense in that she knows what's going on with the whole Townsend thing, that Vandyke would be I'm sure that the FBI has a spread of all the people that are working for Townsend. Yeah. Townsend's whole thing that, he's after Liz. I mean, Panabaker's in the know. So if she wanted to have somebody that was going to take out Liz and not just scrub her, but actually get rid of her, it would make sense for Panabaker to tip off Vandyke. Yeah. Because Vandyke is connected to Townsend. Vandyke knows Townsend wants Liz dead. This all would make sense. No one would suspect that Panabaker would have tipped him off.
And we know Panabaker is smart. Panabaker's clearly no dummy. She's been able to sort of have the temperature of Harold Cooper, who's not the easiest person to read all the time. So I understand a lot of how she would think about this as a means to an end. I don't know how she would have Vandyke's number on speed dial. How would she be able to get a hold of this guy?
Yeah, that's the thing, is there would have to be sort of a chain of people down to be able to get to Vandyke so that it would never come back that she's the person who was kind of by the way. The other issue, of course, that comes in is that no one really knew that Liz was going to be with Reddington on that corner, which is why it was always kind of Does Liz still have this tracker on from like weeks on end here
Yeah.
that it's still going off, no battery replacement, it's just wherever in the world it's still on her? Like, how did Vandyke find her? How would Panabaker have known? I still have questions on how RESSLER figured it out sitting in the hospital. Like, nobody knew.
RESSLER just had spidey sense, and then he also had invulnerability that enabled him to run down the street after just being hospitalized.
I know.
Okay, now the part of it that I'm kind of curious about here is if we're kind of to go along sort of this line of logic that, you know, Vandyke was hired to take out Liz, is it possible that Vandyke wouldn't even know that Reddington even had nothing to do with this at all? That it was just about, okay, I'm taking out Liz, and oh, here's Reddington who just so happens to be here. Whoops, I'm dead now.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes in this theory.
And yeah, and like we've addressed it before, and I think we just said it. Neither one of us, I think, fully believe in the idea because I think it's just hard to connect a lot of the different dots. But I think a lot of us just have like that innate distrust in Panabaker because she's kind of mysterious. We don't see her all the time. I think it's kind of fun, the idea of her as an adversary.
Yeah, like, do I think that Panabaker tipped off Vandyke to do this? No, I think it's too unpredictable for the FBI.
Yeah.
Do I think that Panabaker and the FBI, like the pretend FBI on this show, I'm not talking about the actual FBI,
Yeah.
that they would have measures in place or people in place to take people out? Sure, yes. But I think it's someone who's paid properly, vetted properly, someone that is on their actual payroll. Like there's, you know, Bob over in Assassinations would go over and take care of this. I don't think that it would be left to someone that they don't know,
Yeah.
that is unpredictable. Like I just don't think so.
Yeah, and like even if we were to really reach out there and say, okay, you know what, he called Vandyke so that Vandyke would do this, I think she would still have, you know, your old friend there, Bob from Assassinations, would
That's
probably
right.
be on a rooftop somewhere to then make sure that, you know, Vandyke was taken out after the fact to sort of clean up the paper trail a little bit.
100%. Yeah.
But then, of course, that problem then becomes, and this is why I don't think any of this works, is that since Reddington was there, Bob from Assassinations would have seen that Reddington was there, and that Reddington would know, oh, I didn't kill Vandyke, somebody else did, and then you've got kind of an open thread that's not resolved, and I don't think Panabaker wants there to be any open threads at all.
It's too messy. It's too messy for the FBI. It is way too messy for Panabaker. She didn't even like the messiness of what was going on with the task force in the first place,
No.
which is why it's disassembled, burn notice. She's done with it. It's always been too messy for her.
Yeah, like, I wish that they did do something more with Panabaker in the Season 8 finale, just because I think she would be a compelling, I don't even want to say villain per se, but I think she'd be a compelling foil to the task force. Like, even if we had gotten confirmation that she was officially shutting it down, that it was closed, that they, like, put the shutters all over the metaphorical walls or something, like, I want something so that we know Panabaker is a big part of this next season, but they didn't even give us that.
No, I mean, if I had to take a guess, I think that the task force is going to be shut down. There is no real sort of reason for it to continue on. We do have a video about that as well. But if you had Panabaker in a bigger role, then that means that the sort of FBI is still functioning. Then we have the people from the task force still doing something, maybe on their own, like on Blind Spot. And then we have Reddington and his crew doing what they do best.
All right, I'm gonna settle the Vandyke issue right here, right now for us all, and by that I mean everyone will probably disagree with me, but okay.
All right.
Here we go. Here's what happened with Vandyke, everyone.
Here we go.
So either is what you said earlier, the tracker is somehow still working, Vandyke figured that out, or he just has enough contacts in the criminal world to have sort of realized that Reddington was having some sort of big dinner celebration where there were a lot of people there. He found out Reddington was going to be there. Maybe he didn't even know for sure that Liz was going to be there, but he thought at the very least he could go there, kill Reddington, get some element of revenge, but then he was like, oh, Liz was there. Liz is the person who my boss really wanted to be dead to hurt Reddington the most. And then he just went ahead and did it like that. I know The Blacklist loves to be complicated in a million different ways, but what if this isn't actually that complicated? How crazy would that be?
No, I think that's a really good theory. I'd been on the island of like, I didn't like that Vandyke was able to find him so easily, but he did have a party with a bunch of people there. So was it that impossible for him to find out that Reddington was there and having a party? Probably not. I mean, he may not have known Liz was there, but he may have just gone after Reddington specifically and was like, oh, bonus, Liz is here.
Do I still think it sucks that Vandyke killed Elizabeth? Absolutely, 1,000,000%. Like, this character is not important, and now we've talked about Vandyke for a full video.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's kind of like... Okay, spoilers ahead here for anyone who hasn't watched American Horror Stories yet. Go like this. Okay, so Murder House is the first season of American Horror Stories. It's really iconic to American Horror Story. It is very iconic to the franchise. Then they had this spin-off called American Horror Stories that wasn't as great, but they brought back Murder House into that. And then they had a nobody burn down Murder House in this spin-off. And it was so unsatisfying, where it's like 10 seasons of American Horror Story, this iconic house that's, you know, been sort of part of this franchise this whole time. And then you're going to have a nobody show up in the spin-off nonetheless, not even on the actual show, and burn it down. It was kind of like, oh, no, you guys did not do this. This is terrible. It's awful. Okay, earmuffs off.
Okay, all right. We're all good now. You guys, okay, so here's what you guys need to know. Horror Story is better than Horror Stories. Okay, no.
Yes, and the new American Horror Story started this week.
Yeah,
and we are covering it, American Horror Story, Season 10. We've got review up already here at the channel, so check that out if you're a fan.
All right, well, we'll turn this over to you guys, because we both are really interested in this, at least the idea. It's a fun theory to think about. Do you guys think that Panabaker hired Vandyke? And if you don't think that, like, what role do you think Panabaker has in season 9 if the task force is shut down or whatever else happens? Let us know. And as we said earlier, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other discussions on the show. Give this video a like, and we'll see you here next time.